Hi guys, I'm Kay, and this is my sister Shyla Morris, and we are here for a special edition of the Millennial Mentorship Podcast. We are joined here today with the one and only Dr. Bruce Lipton. Bruce, so happy to have you here.
I am so happy to be here with you. I already feel much younger and healthier just sitting at this table with you. You radiate a lot of good energy. Maybe some good programming happened along the way.
Yeah, well, maybe we're catching it back and forth and cultivating the energy right here.
I love that. Great.
We're so excited. You know, we told you before we started filming here, but you have been a voice in our ear and a book in our pocket for many years, over a decade. Thank you, first and foremost, for being a mentor to us without even knowing it.
No, I'm so happy because, as I said, when I wrote that book, I did it because my life was profoundly changed from understanding what the cells taught me. And I thought about it, I said, I really want to tell everybody about this because I was teaching in a medical school at the time, and I actually had to just get out of the school, stop teaching, because I started realizing we were making victims out of people with the beliefs that we were teaching, that you're controlled by your genes and the genes turn on and off and you have no control over it. And then all of a sudden we become victims of our heredity. And it's like, no, we are creators. And we are creating our genetic expression and the character of our lives. So I enjoy it coming from the edge of the creator part, not the victim part.
We love that too. And you know, with our primary audience here in Millennial Mentorship is that between 20 and 40. And I think that victimhood and victim culture is something that's very prevalent in our millennial generation. If you could tell anything to this age group, what might you say?
I would say you don't even realize as millennials the most powerful movement that's happening on this planet, and it's being moved by you. You go, what do you mean? I go, well, a government and a way of life can only stand as long as the majority of people support that way of life. But when there's a whole group of people that are not involved because they can't get into the system, they can't get the job, they owe money, they can't get a decent job, they have to, share in a place with 3 or 4 other people because there's not enough money. There's a belief that they don't want to be part of that system. They're not actually part of the system. And then many of them go, oh, poor me, I'm not part of the system. And I'm going, no, you don't get it. Because now that the millennial generation is near 50% of the population, that means the existing system can't sustain itself, and that a new system is evolving. But it's the new system based on the majority of people. So the millennials become the majority, and for the first time, all of a sudden, their voice is not just some little thing in the background. Their voice is the voice of creation. What is it you want for your future? It's your future. The older ones have to step aside, and the millennials are the ones that are creating change. And I'm so excited, just even with the last election, and we have those 4 young women.
The squad.
That's the tip of a wave. That's the tip of a wave that said, how did they get in there? Because young people voted them in there. And the idea is, well, then guess what? If all the young people went out and voted, the whole Congress could be a squad.
That's a squad. Congress squad. Congress squad. You heard it from Bruce first. Hashtag Congress squad. Love that. Well, we know that in the next 5 years, 75% of the global workforce will be millennials.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is it really starts with, on the millennials' behalf, awareness about the responsibility of that, and that you don't have to plug into the system and you have responsibility to change it.
Well, that's the whole idea. We're all participants in this, and you could either be a victim participant and go, oh, me, I can't, or you could say, this is not the way I want to do it. I want to do it something different. And it's really wonderful because part of this evolution is that we have to recognize that all humans are part of a bigger organism called humanity. Such as a human body is made out of 50 trillion cells. A human body is a community of cells. And now the human represents the individual, but then if all the humans come together, they're the cells of a bigger new organism called humanity. And the nervous system of that humanity is the internet. And think about what it did. It broke down barriers and borders because people on the internet can talk to anybody anywhere in the world at any time. So there's not like, oh, that's from a different country or these are different people. And the internet is a global nervous system that will integrate all cells, people, into one giant system. And I really look forward to that because the intention, of course, is nature is harmony and beauty. And we got here, they called it a garden when people came here, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then I said, well, what have we done to this garden? And all you have to do is just look outside and say, well, hell, we've destroyed the garden. And the fact is, what people don't recognize, we are products of the garden. If the garden goes down, so do we go down. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden it says, we're facing a real evolutionary upheaval at this moment. Mm-hmm. The planet is pushing us. It says, look, you guys are destroying the world, and now it's time for you to leave. Because nature retains anything that keeps harmony, and nature will eliminate anything that makes disharmony. And we are the cause of what is called now the 6th mass extinction of life. 5 times in the history, life was thriving on this planet. And then some natural event like a comet or something like that, or tectonic plate movements, cause anywhere between 70 to 95% of all life to disappear. And the last one was 66 million years ago when the dinosaurs were here. I mean, it was lush tropical forests and dinosaurs and all that, and a comet hit near Mexico, upended the ecosystem, and over 90% of life disappeared. Well, we're in now what's called the 6th mass extinction. We're losing species of organisms faster today than in previous mass extinctions, but it's human behavior. So there's a wake-up call. It says, you can't keep doing what you're doing, folks, and it's not the younger ones. They got pulled into the system after it was already going downhill. But it's the younger ones that have this choice now to make, is like, do you want to follow the same game or you want to create a better world? And while they're in their, oh, I can't get a job and all that stuff moment, like I'm left out, and I'm going, well, you really have to understand being left out is the opportunity to create something new. You don't go in the system and change the system. You step outside the system and you build a better one. And the millennials are already outside the system.
Shai and I like calling this affectionately going from F this to F that.
Right, F this, I'm going to walk away, to F that, I'm not going to let that hold me back.
Be the thing that holds me back.
Absolutely. And the idea about it is the community. And if they operate with a community, they have power. And this has been demonstrated just by the Justice Democrats, the squad. Got elected because there were a community of young people that went out and said, we're going to vote. And boy, do we need them for the next election. And if they really come out and vote, they can change the entire character of how this government runs.
Wow, Bruce. Well, okay, first of all, I have like 5,782 questions.
I think we don't have time at this.
You took us on an emotional journey through being a part of a bigger thing and the bigger organism, which I got my master's degree in sociology, so you're talking my language there. I'm like, I want to know how we're acting on the bigger society level. Then we got a little dark, 6th mass extinction, right?
Probably us next.
Yeah.
But you see, that's a motivation.
It's serious.
It's a motivation. Do you want
serious.
this or do you want something different? And now the choice is for something different.
Yep.
And the beautiful part about it is they say, well, what about all those jobs that are getting lost? I said, you haven't even seen the new jobs that we need to keep this place going.
We are restaurant owners, and wherever you are and saying that there are not jobs, like, please come apply for us.
Yes, we have lots of jobs for you.
We are baffled at the amount of millennials that will say, well, it's just so hard to find work. And as business owners, we're like, well, where are all of these workers? We're posting, we're on the internet, we're in your face, we're everywhere saying we have jobs available and career paths available for people.
But if they already start with the belief, I can't get started, I can't make it, then what are they thinking all day long as they're hanging out? It's like,
What does it
I
matter?
can't get it, I can't do it. And they lost the incentive and the motivation because they've been disempowered every time they turn around. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't have this, etc. And it's like, well, that's a hell of a bad way to start every day. You wake up and going, Jesus, I've already lost, and it's the first thing in the morning.
Well, if it's a symptom of disempowerment, how do we empower them? And how do we empower ourselves?
Well, we have to recognize this, is that we got here and we were programmed. Now, the movie The Matrix, people look at that and they go, oh, that's a science fiction movie. And I go, no, it's a documentary. Everyone has been programmed. There is not one human that's on this planet that hasn't been programmed. There's a very simple reason. The brain is the equivalent of a supercomputer. And I say, well, yeah, it's got an operating system. As it develops, I got an operating system. So as the baby or the fetus is developing, the brain kicks in, it's got an operating system. Yeah, but a computer with an operating system can't do anything because you need programs. And so, yeah, you buy Word or Draw or spreadsheets, and then you put those programs. Then you can use a computer. Well, a baby's brain is a computer with an operating system and no programs. And so the last trimester of pregnancy, through the first 7 years, a child's brain is actually on download. It's a brain vibration called theta, which is below consciousness vibration, which is a higher vibration. So for the first 7 years, the child's not even conscious, but it is in record. And it records everything parents say, every life experience, and then those are the programs that run it the rest of its life. Well, if you look at the way most kids get raised these days, it's like they're not getting some really good programs from people, school, parents, or anything like this. And I said, well, if you have crap programs, you can't do anything with a machine. And it's time to say, wait, if I'm limited, is it limited because nature limits me, or am I limited because my program? And the answer is absolutely the second one. It's the programming of limitation.
So once we have the awareness of the programming that's inside, what is it that we do? What's the first step? What's something someone can take and say, you know what, I can at least do one thing that might improve my situation in this matter? Because I think where millennials goes, we think too big. It goes, I get it. I got these programs inside, and but it's going to take me like years of work to get that done, and that's too much. Becoming this disciplined human and having all of these, ideas and being on the theta, it's too much, and so they don't take action at all. How do we get them to take one step?
Well, the first step is to form a community. The first step, because when you're all alone, you're isolated. It is one of the worst experiences. In fact, there was a book a long time ago by a famous biologist called Lewis Thomas. And what he wrote in that book, it was inconceivable for any organism to find itself alone, unattached to others. Inconceivable. So, but what we have unfortunately done is separated. So, I see it because, look, I'm an old guy. So I go to the restaurant, and then I look around, and I see couples sitting at the table with their own phones, not even talking to each other at the table. I go, this is a total disconnect. And you need a community. You need the people to hang around with, the feedback, give you information about what's going on in the world. And very importantly, we sabotage ourselves with those negative programs that came in. And unfortunately, you can't see these programs. They're invisible to you for a reason, and that is this. The programs are stored in what is called the subconscious mind, which is like the hard drive of a computer. Push the button, program plays, okay? The conscious mind is above that, but it's a creative mind. And when you're in the creative mind, then you're free of any program. You can do what you want. But when you're in the subconscious mind, whatever the program is, that's your life. That's a printout. That's the matrix story, so to speak, at this moment. And the significance, as long as you're in that program, you cannot rise above whatever the program was. And 95% of our life comes from the program. Well, there's two parts. One is, as I said, you can't see the program. Well, why? And I say, why are we playing 95% from the subconscious program? And the answer is this. Well, consider your body like a vehicle. It's got a steering wheel, okay? And I say, well, the conscious mind is like the driver when it's got its hands on the wheel. And the conscious mind's character is creativity. And that's where imagination comes in. What do you want out of your life? If I ask you, tell me what you want from your life, the answer comes from the conscious creative mind. So that's got your wishes and your desires, what you really want to do. But if I ask you this simple question right now, I say, okay, tell me what you're doing on Monday. If you're going to, it's not here on the table, so your answer isn't here. I say, where is your answer? It's inside, because you can go back and say, what I'm doing on Monday. I go, then recognize this. Your consciousness is driving, got the hands on the wheel, taking you to where? Wishes, desires, aspirations, what you want. I say, now tell me what you're doing on Monday. And all of a sudden, the conscious mind lets go of the wheel because it has to go inside. The answer for where that is inside. It's not out here. So I said, well, wait a minute. Then conscious mind let go of the wheel. Who's driving? And I go, subconscious is autopilot. So when it gets behind the wheel, it'll drive. But it'll drive based on the programs that you got. And since science has told us about 70% of those programs are negative or disempowering, self-sabotaging, or limiting beliefs, I say, wow, If you're thinking 95% of the day, which is the number, then it says 95% of the day you're not creating from wishes and desires. You're just playing these programs, and if they're negative, you're sabotaging your life. And I've told this story for over 30 years, so I'll say it again. This is like the millionth time, but it's the best story because it makes sense, and it goes like this. You have a friend. You know your friend's behavior very well, and you know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the exact same behavior as their parents, so you got to tell. You got to, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad.
Apple doesn't fall
That's
far.
exactly. And I go, and that's the most important story for this reason, because Bill's going to say, I'm nothing like my dad. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then I go, everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. The only one who doesn't see it is Bill. So the explanation is very simple. A, he got the behavioral programs downloaded in the first 7 years by observing his father, and therefore he's downloaded his father's behavior as a program. But why is he playing that program? Because, he let go of the wheel because he's thinking, and therefore, since his attention is focused inward, he's not observing the behavior 95% of the day, which is coming now from the program. And I go, well, that's the problem, because we're all Bill, every one of us. And that means, 95% of the day, I'm not going toward where I want to go. I'm going toward wherever the hell the program is taking me. And I cannot see I'm playing the program. So if the program is sabotaging me, I'm the only one that doesn't see it. And I said, well, what does that make me? It makes me, like most millennials believe they are, I'm a victim. I wanted to be successful, but look what happened.
Right.
And therefore, it's not me because I wanted to be successful.
Because I had the dream, I had the wish, I had the desire.
But it's not manifesting. Because you can't see that you were involved, then you're only left with one answer. It's like, I'm a victim. Other things are in the way. Other people or other things are out there interfering with my destination, and I'm powerless in this. Not recognizing we're all Bill. They're Bill. They're playing these programs, sabotaging themselves, can't see themselves, okay, doing this behavior. So if you can't see you're sabotaging your own life, you're only left to blame somebody else. And I say, well, that's where the problem comes from, because if it really is from your own life, which it is, stop for a moment and recognize you have the opportunity to say, do I want this program anymore? Because you're the one that can rewrite the program. And that way you can rewrite and put in programs that you want. And the beautiful point about it is this. Well, your conscious mind's got your destination. What if you put the wishes and desires of the conscious mind as a program in the subconscious mind? And here's the fun part. It'll operate 95% of the day without you even trying. And so if you put in a program for relationship or a good job or a health, and you put those programs in the subconscious, then 95% of the day, your subconscious, instead of traumatizing you like it has been, with these programs, will take you to destination without any effort. And that's the cool part. You mean I got there without even thinking about it? I got right. When you were thinking, your program took you there.
I love it too. And when you talk about reprogramming, I've heard you use an analogy before, we're like this tape recorder, and then people say, well, I'm trying to reprogram. Now I have the awareness and I'm actively working on it, all right? I'm spending my 5% at the wheel, but it's like someone yelling at the recorder and wanting it to change rather than actually changing the programming. So how do we do that?
Well, this is the part that you say, well, how did the subconscious mind learn? Because it learns different than the conscious mind. Conscious mind's creative. I say, well, how can the conscious mind learn? I say, well, right now, if they're listening to this, their creative conscious mind can learn.
Congratulations if you're listening. Well done. Thank you. We appreciate you.
You're awesome.
And so the conscious mind is being creative at this time, and the subconscious mind is just being the habitual mind. So creative, I say, well, I could read a self-help book, I can go to a lecture, watch this video. I could just go, aha, and I can change my creative mind. Subconscious mind, as I said, is habit. I say, well, what's the relevance? I say, well, if a habit changes easily, then it's not a habit. So by definition, subconscious mind doesn't want to change, because once you create a habit, it's like, good, let's keep it, if it's a good habit. So, for example, the one I usually tell people, I say, look, you learned how to walk before you were 2 years old. and you're still walking. And that's because once the program was in, you never had to relearn how to walk again. And thank God it doesn't change, because if it did, you'd wake up some days, oh, I forgot how to walk, and then you'd have to start all over again. So now here's the issue. So the first thing is this. Let's help them for 1 second by saying, if you recognize that 95% of your life is coming from the subconscious, then you have to recognize this. Your life is a printout of your programs. So you want to know, are my programs helping me or not? Then I say, just look at your life. And I say, what does it mean? I go, the things that you like, if they come into your life and you like them and they come in because you actually have a program to acknowledge that, okay? But if you want something and you have to work hard, struggle, sweat over it, put a lot of effort in, I'm working hard to make it happen, there's a moment to stop and say, why are you working so hard? The answer is, not that the universe wasn't going to give it to you, is you're operating from a subconscious program that doesn't support that destination. And so your conscious mind 5% of the time is saying, I'm going to work hard to overcome this. And then 95% of the time, this subconscious is just playing the negative program. So
you're doing your best to fight this uphill battle while you've got a barrage of negative thinking coming at you and the programming that you've had. And I think one of the things we get into a mistake with our generation particularly is that so many millennials are caught up in the ideal and the habitualization of instant gratification. And so I think, well, I see all these articles on 21 days to form a habit and 3 weeks to change your life and 7-day belly fat, blah, blah, whatever. And we grew up with this. We grew up with Billy Mays telling us that OxyClean was going to clean our clothes in 24 seconds flat. And we've grown up with instant gratification. So reprogramming our minds by changing our habits, it's not a 21-day adventure.
It's a variable. It's a variable based on what that thing is you want to change, number one. Your previous experiences that you dealt with, because that's a memory situation that will interfere with also moving forward as well. How many days? And I say, well, it depends on which way you want to try and change it, because there are different ways to change it, okay? The first 7 years, you learn because your brain was functioning at a record level, theta. And I say, well, what's unique about that? And I say, well, the vibrations of the brain measured by putting wires on your head called electroencephalograph. There are levels of vibration. The lowest one is called delta, and that's asleep. The next higher vibration is called theta, and that's imagination. And then as it ramps up a little higher, that's called alpha, which is consciousness thinking. And then it ramps up a little higher and it goes to beta, which is schoolroom, like you're actually in school and you got to do a lot of thinking. That's beta. And I say, theta is the hypnosis phase. It's not just imagination, it's hypnosis. A child spends the first 7 years predominantly in theta. That means a child learns how to live in the world, the behaviors, how to respond to things by just observing other people. But there's a problem with that. And I say, because alpha hasn't evolved yet. I say, well, alpha would be a filter that say, oh, this is a good behavior, that's a bad behavior, consciousness. That's not there. So I say, whatever the heck you saw is downloaded. Good behavior, bad behavior, it's all in there because there was no filter, okay? And that's the first period, and it's hypnosis. And I say, so what can you do about it? I say, well, every night when you go to bed, those higher vibrations that you had at work or school or wherever you are, when you come home, calm down, the vibrations get lower, and that's now alpha. Alpha is calm consciousness. But the moment you nod off, the moment your consciousness disconnects, the next period of vibration as it's going slower toward delta, which is sleep, that's theta. So it says, oh, there's a period right after your conscious mind went to sleep where theta mind, subconscious, is recording. So if you put earphones on and you play the programs that you want to be true in your life, it's interesting because conscious mind sleeping doesn't even hear what the heck the programs are, but theta is in record. So whatever you're doing, that's a way, it's called self-hypnosis. So you get programs of health, happiness, jobs, whatever kind of thing, they're self-help programs. But after age 7, that process is not how you learn anymore. The next after age 7 is repetition, practice, habituation.
So doing.
doing it and practicing and repeating it. So, I give you an instrument and you say, well, I don't know how to play. I say, well, practice. And you practice and practice, and to the point where you can pick up the instrument without looking at the notes or paper or anything and just start playing the instrument. Why? Now it's a habit. Well, what you want to be a habit you can make if you just repeat it over and over and over again. I love it because a new way of saying this kind of humorous is sort of fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
I love that.
So, like you're very unhappy in your life, and I go, okay, my life's not happy, but guess what? I can say, I am happy. I am happy. And I say by repeating this many times during the day, just no matter, anytime you have a moment, oh, yeah, I am happy. I am happy. That's repetition. I say, well, what's the result? Well, there's a period of time, and it's a variable, that I am happy actually, because it's been repeated, habituated, it becomes a program in the subconscious mind. And since 95% of your life is going to come from those programs, now that you have a happy program in there, then 95% of your life you will be operating from I am happy, or I am successful, or I am this or that, whatever the thing you want to repeat and put in. So habituation is
Where
a very
some
important
millennials, I think, get that wrong is that they say, I want to be happy, and that means I don't want to be depressed. And so what they're perpetuating is, I don't want to be depressed, I don't want to be depressed, I don't want to be depressed, and what does that bring more of?
Well, that's the whole idea. It's sort of like this. It's don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think about that. Well, immediately at some point there's a pink elephant, because don't think about that.
I've got a tutu on, bubbles.
Blowing bubbles.
Yeah.
It's got to a Dumbo scenario.
From Dumbo, yeah.
So the point about it is what? Is like you say, I don't want this. And I say, well, the mind's picture is not the don't. The mind's picture is this. I don't want to be sick. Well, you don't focus on don't, you focus on sick. So every time you want to put something into your conscious or subconscious mind, it has to be put in what is called positive present tense, which is now that's all of a sudden makes people a little like, come on, man, like I'm sick, and what's my program? I am healthy. And you say, you're sick as a dog, and you say, no, I am healthy. I am healthy. You keep saying that. I say, relevance, because if you keep repeating that, I am healthy, it's not that I want to be healthy. And I say, because the mind's recording, right? So let's right now, today, here we are. I say, let's record, I want to be healthy in my mind. Now let's come back 1 year from today, push the button, and what's the tape? I want to be healthy. It's like, oh, you never got to healthy, did you?
Right.
See, so putting in a want, will, shall, that means you're never going to get there.
Well, I love that you're talking about, you have to make a habit out of it. You have to practice, and that you do have this opportunity as you nod off, going through that imaginative, creative theta state where you are receptive to that programming. And so a habit that any millennial can do is put in those AirPods.
Yes.
We all know that you can do it, and listen to something that's in that positive affirmation phrasing when we go to bed. If we do that habitually every night, you can help rewrite your program. Anybody could do that.
Well, and that's no effort, because
Yeah.
you're
No
sleeping.
effort.
Yeah.
So and the beautiful part about it, once it's in, it's no effort either, because
Yeah.
it's going to work 95% whether you're thinking about it or not.
Yep.
It's going to work 95% of the time. So the only effort is to put the program in. Once the program is in, no more effort required.
I love that practice, and I think that brings us very well into our
Disney drop.
I'm
The
so
music
excited.
is copywritten, so we can't actually.
So we just do a little ditty and we sing
So we
it.
just sing it.
Every episode of Millennial Mentorship, we bring a favorite Disney quote from either our guest or that's relevant to the teaching. And today's quote is from Walt himself, who said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And of course, you embody that. And we're talking about, as we go into dreaming, being able to do it by habituating a new program.
Absolutely. And this is why, humans have this great capacity, because that conscious mind, the creative one, that's what he's talking about. If you can dream it in your creative mind, then you can go there. But then you'll have to come back to reality and say, yeah, but if you're only using that 5% of the time, it's going to be very difficult to manifest that reality, because 95 is coming from programs that probably don't support that, And I love it because we go back to the story of The Matrix. I said, oh yeah, we've all been programmed, documentary, and then in the movie, they say if you take the red pill, you get out of the program. And for those out there who have fallen in love at any one point, science has recognized that is the equivalent of a red pill, because your life could suck every day, blah, 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 blah. And then you meet this special person, and then 24 hours later, it's like, oh my God.
Millennials call this getting woke.
Yeah.
So I'm just so woke.
Oh my gosh.
So you're
Isn't that
woke.
You're
fabulous?
floating. You're floating.
And what happened? 24 hours after you meet, you're in a whole different universe of your life. It's
You've
like,
awakened.
It's so beautiful, and life is great, and that's the heaven on earth and all that stuff. And I go, that was always possible anytime you stop playing the program.
Right.
Or if you put those desires and wishes as programs, then you can dream your life way. You can, automatically just have heaven on earth without even thinking about it, which is our life is created 95% of the time without us thinking about it, but not with programs that we want. But the idea of what is the result of getting out of the program, and the answer is heaven on earth. And that is really the destination.
Yeah.
Because heaven on earth means you came here for love and joy and beauty and happiness and all that. And what we end up with is struggle, strife, war, violence, all this kind of stuff like that. That's a program. And it didn't come from us, because babies are not born with that program. Those programs are put into a baby's mind through their community, parents, family, and community around there.
Well, we're so lucky to have heard your teachings before we had our kids. I have 3 kids, and Kay has 1. And so it's both wonderful because you can think about I'm actively dumping into the recording system right now. And sometimes
Also terrifying.
It's a huge responsibility. Like, I want to pull that one back out. I want to pull that one back out. But it's been so cool to bring that into our kids' lives. And I'm really glad you circled back to nature, because we both love being outside. There's this feeling of reverence and connection when you're out in nature and in the world. And I know you share that passion. Can you speak into the role of nature?
Yeah, because we are nature. We didn't, the Bible story of, 7 days of magic. We create this today and we create that today. And they created everything, nature. And then on one final day, they said, let's just throw some humans in there, which led people to think that we were like separate from nature, led them to believe that actually in the original science philosophy, science was designed to dominate and control nature. It's like, first of all, who the hell are you? You are nature.
Who would want to do that? Yeah.
You are nature. And if we start living in harmony, see, there was a garden. Because a garden is not a battleground. A garden is the height of cooperation. And then humans came into the garden, and then the whole garden disappeared because we are the ones that are not cooperating.
Garden's like, where's my harmony?
Yeah. and nature's saying, we got a virus, they're called humans. Let's get rid of them. Because if humans disappear, the whole thing comes right back. Like Chernobyl had that massive explosion of the reactor, and science people said it's going to take 20,000 years to bring this back to health again. Within a few years, a forest has grown up in there.
Beautiful.
Right now, at this time, there are more animals in the Chernobyl area than anywhere outside. The reason? No humans. Once the humans left, the garden came right back up again. And this has happened in many different situations. Nature's resilient. We're the troublemaker. I said, well, what happens if we learn to live in harmony with nature? Then we are the garden. And the idea of a garden, of course, is the harmony and beauty of the whole thing. And if we stop destroying the garden because of our programming and start recognizing we are nature, which also then says, well, there's a massive effort for millennials coming up. It says we are creating this mass extinction that threatens human civilization and all life on this planet at this moment. And I said, well, what's the way out? And the answer is we got to learn how to be gardeners again. This is what like Native Americans grew up with. And they said, this is a garden and we are gardeners. And then when all those settlers came in and destroyed it, they killed all the buffalo and all that stuff. They killed everything. And the natives were like, wow, these are like aliens that came in here and destroyed the environment. If we come back to harmony with them, and it's interesting because the indigenous people still are the ones that can speak to the earth. We don't. We lost it. That's why we're destroying it. But what's the role of the millennial generation? We need gardening. If you don't garden this thing, it's already going downhill right now. And the fact is we have to stop the behavior that we are using to upend the ecosystem with all the overproduction of food, so many insecticides, poisons, things that we throw into the air, the water, and all this stuff.
Well,
And
it's not just about gardening. I think those physical aspects to help combat the pollution and the mass production and all that, but planting the seeds of empowerment and planting the seeds of community and planting the seeds of togetherness. And you said what happens when we learn to live in harmony with nature is that we become the garden, which means that these intrinsic fun, human-y things like happiness and humility and gratitude, that those are kind of plants in their own way too, huh?
Yeah, but that's a result of being in harmony. When you're out of harmony, disharmony leads to dis-ease. And that's what the genes are not causing the health issues on this problem. It's not living in harmony that is causing the health issues on this problem. So as we start to learn how to be in nature and work with nature and support each other, it doesn't mean everybody's going to go out and be a farmer at this point or anything like that. But it says that the community surrounding all of this has to live in harmony, and it is a community. When you break the community, the power is gone. And if you look at why millennials feel so threatened, is because without a community, they are powerless. But if they come together and put their efforts and their desires and wishes into a collective, let's do this, then the world will change instantly. But if they're going to sit over there and over there and over there and go, woe is me, this isn't working right, what distraction can I do right now to look at this and not deal with it? It's like, well, that's going down the tubes. And yet there's a wake-up call, and it's happening, and it's interesting because when you see the world falling apart, which it is, it's not just the United States, every country is having its own issues. And that says, guess what? You reach the end. You can't go any farther with this. And the only way out is to stop doing all that and create something new. And there is no other population on this planet other than the millennials that have the opportunity to change the direction of this thing. And so I hope you guys do okay, because I sort of like being here.
It's a big load.
having you.
As a generation, we're pretty much called entitled a lot. And for us as millennials, we do feel entitled as a generation to raise our standards and to come together, as you're saying, to help build the community and be part of that. Just what Bruce is talking about, to be part of the millennial community that says, we're not going to get kicked out of the garden. Let's do something.
Let's
get in harmony.
And take some action, take some changes, and be better.
Yeah, sow some seeds in your garden.
And this is exactly the resolution for the survival of this planet. And all of a sudden I say, geez, it's up to you guys. You guys have a lot of responsibility, because if you guys don't do it, we're all going down.
Well, thank you for your expertise and your willingness to share with the younger generations, and to be out there and to be a voice for community and for empowerment. And it's absolutely incredible, and we really appreciate your mentorship.
Well, I appreciate anybody who listens, because that means if they take it as you have done and say, wait, if I put this into my life, how's my life? And I presume that previous shows have talked about, look what we've done. Well, that's the idea, everybody. Look what they've done. Because if all of you start to collectively get together, this whole world will change overnight. It's not 1,000 years or anything like that, except the extinction phase, which I mentioned, is within the next number of decades. So all of a sudden it says, we are on the very edge.
Sense of urgency.
But this is the cool part, because that's the thing that causes people to wake up.
Yeah, it gives us that opportunity. Well, as I mentioned, you've been such a mentor for us. So final question for you. Who's your mentor? Who do you learn from? Who's your person?
The cells of the body. I studied them since 1967 is when I started doing cloning of stem cells. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, I grow cells in tissue culture, and I watch them. And I see how they work and see how they live together, and I can see how the environment can affect them to go this way or that way. And all of a sudden I started learning about this. And the most interesting thing I ever learned, because as a scientist I was not spiritual. I was not spiritual because as a scientist, you don't invoke something you don't need to, you know. We can say, yeah, I got DNA, I got proteins, I got these things. You don't need spirituality. But the cells revealed it to me because each of us are unique cells, and why you can't exchange cells. You guys could get really close because the idea is there are no two people that are genetically identical. But it's not genetically, it's actually, there's an identity on the cells. There's like a set of antennas, just like television antennas on your cells, except for your red blood cells, which is interesting because that's how you can take red blood from one person, put it into another person. It's not Bruce's red blood cells, okay? So, and the point about it is what? Is that there are antennas on the surface of the cell that are called self-receptors, receivers of self. I go, well, if the antenna's on the surface of the cell, where do you think the signal is coming from? And it was like that woke me up and it said, oh my God, I'm not in here. I'm a broadcast being picked up by my cells. And when I remember the first moment that hit me because I was not spiritual. And then when I saw the mechanism, it was like, like 10 seconds later, okay, spirituality, I got it, you know?
Please tell me this is the story where are you in Guam and you run into the library and the student is there? Is that that moment for you?
That was at that moment where all of a sudden, you know, I saw this and it was at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I was working on this and I remember my hands going through my hair.
Like so the crazy scientist.
The crazy scientist.
Do you know what I just found?
Something.
And I wanted to tell somebody and there was nobody there and I figured, medical students, that's what I was teaching. Somebody will be in the library. So I ran in the library to tell somebody, and he looked at me and said, are you all right, Dr. Lipton? You know, because
I just discovered God in cells.
Exactly. And then I tried to download this stuff, but he wasn't ready to understand what I was talking about because there was a lot more science than he was ready for. But it was the most amazing thing, and it changed my whole life because if you understand that you are a broadcast, that you are an energy, that you come and go, and I asked myself the question because the first thing, it's like, well, wait, if I'm a spirit and I'm a body, why do I need a body? Why not just be the spirit? Okay? I asked that question, and 50 trillion cells, funny guys, answered. I asked the question, why have a spirit and a body? Why not just be the spirit? 50 trillion cells come up with this question in my head. If I'm just a spirit, what does chocolate taste like? And if you take that picture and you make it bigger, what does it mean? It says this is a device to taste and smell and see all the receptors that we have and experience. Feeling, what is love? An energy doesn't have that. It needs the chemistry of a body. All of a sudden, say, oh my God, we came here to have experiences. And then that's the intention until somebody misdirected the program, and then we became slaves to somebody's program, you know, the Matrix story. And then I said, well, not only are we receiving experiences, but we're moving around and we're creating things. I go, wait a minute. We're creating our life experiences. I thought, this is where heaven is. This is where if you create it with the right programs, this is the whole reason of being here. Love, happiness, joy. You know, it's not how much money.
Chocolate.
Oh, God, yes. You know, all of these wonderful experiences are here. And we came here. Why? Because we have an energy, like a broadcast. So I know there's a time thing here, so let me...
You go. You're teaching and we love it.
Look at it this way. Consider the body is like a television set. And I have an antenna, and my program is playing the Bruce show, so you're looking at the Bruce show. And then you're watching a TV, and the TV breaks. What do we say? Oh, TV's dead. And I go, yeah, TV's dead. It's not working anymore. Is the broadcast still there? Of course it's still there. That wasn't in the TV. It came to the TV. So the understanding is that if a future TV is turned on and tuned to the right station, the show is back on the air again, which all of a sudden said, oh my God, I'm not in here. I'm the broadcast. This is the television version. And why am I here? Because I can have all the experiences and send that information back to the broadcast. And if I die, I'm still here. I just need another embryo with the same antennas. And then I'm back again. And that's a thing called reincarnation. And we've been here many, many times, but you have to recognize the television is the variable. Does it have to be a male or a female TV? That doesn't make any difference. That's the television set. How about white, black, brown, yellow, red? That's the television set. That's not who we are. We are more than a television set. And the idea is, if we start to recognize that we're all spiritual entities and that we came here as creators, we came here to create that heaven. We came here to create that love and the chocolate. We came here to do this. And if it's not working right, is it because it's not heaven? I go, no, we're just creating, but from other people's programs, and they suck. And I don't want a program, I don't want their programs. And that was when you guys come in and we start talking about, change the program. Because the moment you change the program, you change the creation.
And you change the creation, you change your life. Bruce,
wow.
This has been such an honor.
I so appreciate it because it's like I can talk about this, but when people do it like you guys are doing it, that's where it really counts. So otherwise, a bunch of hot air until somebody downloads it and decides to manifest a life out of it. And that's what my wish is for millennials to understand, is that there's an opportunity here to understand that A, you've been in the matrix, you've been programmed with some crap, and that if you take the program back, then you become the master, the creator, and in that process you get to manifest heaven on earth. And
that's beautiful.
Preach.
Love it.
That
love
is
it.
amazing.
Love it.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
Everyone for spending what we consider to be your most precious gift with us, which is your time today here on Millennial Mentorship. We look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place, next week.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.